We are live. Seems to be working. So welcome,
Perfect.
Jimbo from Hydrex for everyone who's tuning in here. This is a new series that we're going to be doing going into the new year called ZEROPOD Live. I'm sure a lot of you guys have watched our podcast, ZEROPOD, which is typically a packaged and edited product, but we've just decided to incorporate some live streams into that as well so that we can be a bit more responsive and do some things that are a little less planned, a little less packaged, and super glad to be able to have Jimbo here with us to talk about everything that they are building at Hydrex. Welcome, Jimbo. Big day for Base, big day for Hydrex. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me, Toady. It's always good to talk with you. And yeah, no, it's seemed like the 17th took forever to get here, and now everything's happening all at once. So super excited. Can't wait to see what all's released, and excited to talk to you guys about the surge.
Yeah, what are the Jimbo predictions? What are we expecting from the December
Ooh.
17th event today? Do you have any guesses?
Yeah, I think it's going to be revolving around the base app, at least from Base's side. Coinbase's side, I'm not too sure. Um, but yeah, it seems like from the base account, they've been really pushing. The team's been together working on the base app, so might be seeing it go live, which would be exciting because I know I've had the beta access for a while. There's been a lot of people wanting to get access, so I think being able to give that to as many users as possible would be huge.
It's hard to even conceptualize what the difference will be, I think, from like the closed beta. I don't know how many thousands of people are on the closed beta, but it's going to be millions probably once they get it rolled out to public. So I'm
Oh
curious to
yeah.
see how it changes the dynamic on the base app and also just generally on Farcaster, right? Because the base app uses Farcaster under the hood as the protocol, and so regardless of which app you're using, if you're using the Farcaster app itself or any number of alternative apps like Uno or HeroCast, the feed could change. It's interesting to see how it will change. What do you think?
Yeah. It'll be exciting to see how people use the mini apps because I'm interested to see how many people use Coinbase Wallet but haven't tried Farcaster yet. So they'll be seeing
True.
them for the first time and really getting into them.
Yeah, they probably won't even know that they're using Farcaster. I guess that's the interesting thing.
Yeah, it'll be really cool. Do you have any
Yeah.
predictions for the overall
I
announcement
don't
today?
I don't know. The only thing I'm pretty sure of is that there's not going to be the base token obviously is not dropping.
Hmm.
I think you were at base camp as well, and we got to see Jesse announce live that they were exploring a network token, and then like after the live stream went dark, Jesse was pretty direct about. I think there was someone had just spun up a poly market, base to drop token in 2025, and Jesse basically said, You can take that bet. It's not coming in 2025." And I think that's pretty obvious. Like Coinbase has a lot of fiduciaries, a lot of they're trying to do things right and by the books as a publicly traded U.S. company. It's going to take them a while to figure this all out. Even Rainbow, who was like slated to drop their TGE Q4, is now just announced it's going to be February 5th. I think they said a couple days ago, and that's not a slight on Rainbow. I love the Rainbow guys. I just think it's really difficult and slow moving to deal with some of these regulatory hurdles to actually do things the right way. So, all that
Oh,
to
for
say,
sure.
not expecting a base token in December. Maybe they'll give an update about it, but I don't think it's definitely not going to happen. However, speaking of tokens, I wouldn't be super surprised if we saw some stocks coming on chain. Maybe coin stock, maybe some Mag 7 stocks coming on chain. Um, Believable or plausible because others have kind of done it already, like Kraken, and it didn't
Hmm.
Robinhood also do that? And
I
the
think so, yeah.
the big discussion point around it was like the legitimacy of it because I can't remember which one it was, whether it was the Kraken implementation or the Robinhood one, but Elon kind of like came out and said, "Oh, that these are not really Tesla stock" or something like that. Like, so it's interesting when you're doing derivatives like this, you actually have to have some element of legitimacy. So maybe we'll see tokenized stock with some kind of legitimate buy-in from like Nasdaq or something. Who knows? That could be kind of interesting.
Yeah, that would be huge, especially to get it on chain on base. Really excited to see how the DeFi space can evolve with that, those would actually be incorporated.
Yeah, maybe we can get some surges set up for Tesla stock.
We
that'll
definitely
be
could
that'll be the new meta. All
get
right,
in
well
the
let's
flywheel.
let's jump right into it. One thing that we like to do on ZeroPod, just get a little picture of you as a person and sort of who you are before you came to Hydrex. So I wonder if you could tell us sort of in 5 minutes or less the Jimbo origin story, so people who are meeting you for the first time know a little bit about you as a builder.
For sure. So just to give some background on what I do at Hydrex as well. So I'm the growth and marketing lead, as well as one of the founders. So I handle getting all the graphics, all the marketing, all of the community messaging out. But before Hydrex, I've worked in quite a few different things. So I first got into crypto back in 2017. The first time I bought Bitcoin was through Coinbase. So it's been like a long journey to come all the way back to
Full
base.
circle.
And I know, yeah. It's crazy to think about. That was almost, 10 years ago, but it goes by fast and slow in crypto.
Yeah.
Um, and then from there, during 2021, I got more into the DeFi side, got into a lot of projects then, helped on like the marketing, social media side. But my main focus has been in B2B marketing and traditional marketing. So I haven't done as much from the crypto side, but actually part of our team before we launched Hydrex, we worked on Tokimon on Base, which became one of the largest games on Base, still going, got a pretty hardcore community,
Love it.
is still putting out updates. But from launching Tokimon, we just saw that just the community on Base was pretty crazy, especially compared to other blockchains, just how collaborative everyone was and how everyone wanted to work together and help each other out. And we also saw that for how big Base was, there was need for more liquidity hubs because right now, you just have larger options, and there's a lot of growing projects or even larger size projects who want different liquidity incentives and want to be able to list their token, get more volume. We really saw the need for Hydrex from that, and that really sparked it, as well as just being able to work with the Base team. They're super helpful to anyone who's trying to build and really trying to make Base a better place for everybody. So it was just really cool to see them get buy-in for Hydrex. And yeah, that's kind of my background.
What was your inspiration for building Hydrex? Were you looking at sort of the lay of the land and thinking that there weren't enough options for, liquidity bootstrapping for tokens on base, or what was the main inspiration for building what you're building?
Yeah, so our team, we've all been messing around in DeFi for quite a few years and working with Pokemon and talking with projects. We asked around for like different pain points just to get a lay of the land, and there was a lot of projects. So it was just really hard to get your liquidity anywhere, and actually trying to get incentives is really tough. To where it's like usually just park it somewhere, and then trying to build the protocol around that. But liquidity is vital for any project. You need it to be healthy to help it grow and help it sustain that growth. And we really wanted to help projects do that, especially because there's just so many great ones building, and them actually trying to get incentives is really tough. So we've been able to do that and continue to do that with Hydrex.
All the light and brand new day. No night, fall or rain can keep you in the shade. Over the moon, a sunlight ray shining through the clouds, golden color gaze. Yeah, joy in the morning, you'll hear sounds of love, trumpets in the sky, flowers from above. Imagine all your pain just melting away. Can't wait to see the day.
Can you explain for someone who's watching this and they maybe don't know what a liquidity hub does? Maybe their understanding of liquidity is pretty basic. They just know that most liquidity lives on Uniswap oftentimes,
Hmm.
or on other decentralized exchanges, and they just know that it's there to facilitate trades, but they're not really familiar with VE style or 3-3 style dexes. Can you try to give us like a simplistic explanation of how Hydrex does things a little bit differently, and why token projects might be interested in using something like Hydrex?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, I'm able to share my screen. I have a visual
Let's
example I
do it.
think can help people.
Sounds good.
Perfect. Let me get it pulled up. I'm a visual learner, so this always helps me,
I love it.
especially when you get into talking about flywheels and stuff. It can get pretty left field pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Were you able to see this all right? There we go. All right. So when we talk about decentralized exchanges, which we are, which is often called a DEX, people often refer to the flywheel. And it's a pretty big buzzword in crypto, but what it actually means is just how incentives align between all the users of that decentralized exchange.
Right.
And they call it a flywheel because once you start getting momentum going, it works out best for everybody, and you can really get growth from there, and really create a lot of awesome things. So to give a little backstory on how Hydrex is different, so with traditional dexes, where people come and put liquidity for their token and can also trade, they usually look like this. This is very typical of a Uniswap model, to where people can come and park their liquidity pools, which is called LPs. And then from that, that provides liquidity on the DEX for people to come and trade. And when you have a token, you want more liquidity because then people can trade more often and do larger trades without slippage where they lose money. Because, we've all seen the low liquidity tokens where you can go and buy it, but you're going to lose 5% or more of your value doing that. And it's just not a good experience for anyone, especially for larger people trying to get in. And they'll oftentimes just completely bypass it.
It's also
So,
discouraging for the builder, for the actual token project, because you can have one person who has to sell tokens for whatever reason they may have in their life. And if they, if you have very low liquidity, then that can really, put a damper on your market cap or what have you, and just make it look a lot worse than it is if you don't have good liquidity.
oh, definitely. And especially low liquidity too, it causes more price impact, which a lot of projects a lot of users will see that as good because that can create green candles, but it creates red candles just as much. Because if you have low
Yeah.
liquidity, then even medium sells or even the larger ones can really just take the price. So it's good to keep it in a healthy ratio to the market cap to allow for buys and sells, which are going to happen regardless, to come in and not shake the boat too much.
Yeah.
Um, and so what DEX is, as I was saying, this is much more of a Uniswap model. So the people, they're incentivized to put their liquidity on the DEX because then 100% of those trading fees, well, they do take a cut, go to the LPs themselves. So then as they park it on there, they can get appreciation from that. But the issue that this has caused is that the token is left out of the equation. So, when you talk to people who are Uniswap token holders, the biggest complaint is, there's been trillions of dollars in volume and they haven't seen a single cent. I know Uniswap's trying to change that, but it's still been a really hard thing that makes it hard for people to want to hold the token, and it's just left out of the ecosystem entirely.
Yeah. And in their defense, I mean, they've had regulatory reasons to be slow
For sure.
on that front. Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not just as easy as pressing a button. There's a lot of implications of any slight change, especially to an organization that large.
Mm-hmm.
But the way to help with this, to help get the token in there, and also to help get more liquidity for projects, is what we refer to as liquidity incentives. So when you're staking your LP, instead of just earning the trading fees as you would do, you for keeping it there in the liquidity pool, you earn the protocol's token. So in our case, it's an options token called OHYDX, which I can get more into the specifics in a little bit. But users and also projects want to stake their liquidity because then users are rewarded in that token, which then helps get more people to provide liquidity, making that token more liquid. And then this also helps with the flywheel, as the more liquidity equals more trades can happen. And then with this, 100% of the fees that are generated on Hydrex from these trades go back to our token holders, who then vote on pools weekly. And then the more votes a pool gets determines the amount of emissions of tokens it gets for the next week. So it kind of creates this flywheel. As there's more liquidity for a token, it allows for more trades, which means more fees, which means more users are incentivized to vote on those pools, and thus they get more liquidity from it. So that's what we refer to as the flywheel. As it starts getting in motion, it creates a really positive feedback system to where tokens can really grow and really appreciate from doing that. And then projects also to help them get started in the flywheel, because obviously as you first put on your liquidity, it's hard to get more trades and to get more fees, especially if you're a new protocol. But they can put incentives at this part to incentivize our token holders to kickstart the flywheel, get them initial emissions, and help them really grow a community around the liquidity providers.
And those incentives can be in basically any token, correct?
Yep. Yeah, that's the cool thing. It can be in the project token, or some like to do it in USDC or ETH. But yeah, we can whitelist any token to put on there, which is really cool.
Soon coin stock? No, I don't know.
Hey, yeah. It's a token. We can put it on there.
We'll
That'd
check
be
back
interesting.
tomorrow and see what the announcement was, and see if you can use coin stock tomorrow to incentivize on Hydrex. No,
Definitely.
that's a great explanation. I think it shows for people who may not be familiar the difference between sort of a traditional decks and what you guys are building. How's it been going so far? How long have you guys been live with this product, and how's the uptake been so far?
Yeah, it's been great. We've been live a little over 3 months,
Has it
and
only been
it's
3 months? Wow, it feels
I
like longer somehow. But
I know I always have to think about it. I'm like, wait, it feels like it's been 2 years. But yeah, we're going into week 13 of our because we the rewards go out weekly,
yeah,
and that determines the emissions for the week. And tonight will actually be week 13 will end. So yeah, a little over 3 months, which is really crazy. And yeah, we've achieved a lot in that time. We've currently given out over, I believe it's $2.2 million in rewards from trading fees. And we're
nice.
closing in on $500 million in total volume. So about to break the half billion mark, which is just insane to think about.
Where do those rewards come from? Are these coming from buybacks? Are they coming from inflation or from reserved portions of the token? You said you were going to tell us a little bit more about Hydrex and how it works.
Yeah, so those rewards, the 2.2 million is all from trading fees and then from projects that have been incentivizing with their token or with other tokens to help get emissions. So that's just rewards that go straight to our lock token holders. Um, and to go a little more into the OHYDX, so one way we really differentiate from other DEXs is so a lot of times they just emit the raw liquid token for staking.
Right.
And this obviously helps people want to stake because everybody wants the liquid token, but it also causes people to not be long-term or good long-term holders of the protocol because a lot of people just
They
sell
dump the
instantly.
tokens.
Yeah, they farm to dump, which you know it happens with everything. There's always the mercenary liquidity that you need to help kickstart. But we really wanted to make sure that anyone who's just farming to dump is giving back to the protocol because with a lot of these dexes that have a similar model, in over a year they can give out, millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars in value, and none of that goes back to the protocol itself because people are just dumping it to buy back other tokens.
Right.
Um, Here, let me pull up the tokenomics. So we help bypass this by giving out an options token. So this token itself isn't liquid. You can't go and sell it in a liquidity pool, but you have two options for what you can do with it. So you can permanently lock and burn it into what we call a protocol account. And so when you do this, it gives you one-to-one what we call voting and earning power in Hydrex. So you get a vote on the pools each week with this, giving you permanent income in the protocol for as long as fees are generating. Or the second thing you can do is you can exercise that options token to get the liquid Hydrex token. But to do this, you have to pay 30% of its market value in USDC. So this helps ensure that the token itself isn't being unnecessarily inflated. Because no liquid Hydrex can go into circulation without 30% of its value being captured back to the protocol.
Right.
And the cool thing about this is that that USDC that's generated from all of these exercise liquid tokens goes into what we call the strategic protocol reserve. And so this provides protocol-owned liquidity on Hydrex that will never leave. And that essentially allows us to have more liquid tokens and blue chips, as well as larger pairs that is constantly generating fees for our holders. So as
It's
the
almost
token,
like it's almost like a programmatic OTC option in a way where like they can purchase the liquid token but at a discount and then that difference goes to the protocol.
yeah, well, they do get a discount on it because they're only paying 30% of its value to get that
Right,
liquid
right.
token.
Right,
Um,
right, right, yeah.
yeah, but so it allows them for anyone who wants to dump or who just wants to hold the liquid token because you can lock it up as well to get increased earning power to help incentivize people to want to buy the liquid token and lock it. But anyone who's doing that, that goes into our strategic protocol reserve, and it's closing in on around 900,000, which is really crazy to think about just how much that's grown. And that's just all in liquidity that's going to be constantly generating fees for our users. And that's kind of the long term of Hydrex is that we can really grow that reserve to where we can essentially have like a extremely low inflationary DEX or just get completely non-inflationary to where that liquidity is providing rewards to users.
Amazing. Well, you've got a new feature that's just launched called Surge, and that's what you wanted to come on today and chat with us about. So I'm really excited to learn about this. I guess for some context with my own mini app, Betterment, we have a token Better, and you've been helping us thicken our liquidity profile for that via Hydrex, and it's been really great to work with you guys on that. I think we've attracted over $70,000 worth of liquidity, I believe, since we started working together for the token, which has ranged between $500,000 to $1 million market cap. So it's a pretty good percentage of the market cap that we've been able to attract using these incentives as just like a on the fly testimonial. And now, like previously, we had to do a lot of work with several different strategies to sort of incentivize both sides of the liquidity. And now with the surge, it's kind of been simplified. Can you explain a little bit about how that works and why people should care?
Yeah, so the Surge, it's our largest set of enhancements to date to really take us from just being another DEX on Base to being what we call a core Base DeFi primitive, to really be able to be competitive with all the other large players in the space and provide the best liquidity options to projects and users alike. So yeah, currently the way our liquidity is set up, here I can pull up our site, is that when you want to come to stake in a pool, excuse me, these are in what's called an ALM or automated liquidity market. So not to get too technical, but when you set liquidity, you kind of set a range of how those two tokens are in the pool. And so when it's in concentrated liquidity, it's very similar to like UniV3 or UniV4, to where the closer the price you have set for those tokens is to the actual price, the more volume it gets because they want to trade within what they call a tighter range. Right. And that's very much more complicated, especially with us building Hydrex for all users in mind, and especially being through a mini app. We didn't want to bog people down with, especially at launch, to have that be like the first thing they see. So what we have set up, it's an automated liquidity market currently. So users can come and they can stake the tokens, and that will keep the range for them. It aims to keep it at a more optimal rate to reduce some permanent loss. And this has been great, but currently on Base, and especially within the DEX space on Base, there's over $1 billion within those manual concentrated liquidity. And we want to be able to accommodate all of those users. So with the Surge, we'll still keep our ALMs that we have currently. So any users that are in them can still earn rewards. And if they don't want to worry about automating their liquidity, they don't have to. But it'll allow users to set their own liquidity ranges, and then they can earn on those as well. So it simplifies it in a few different ways, because when you have these different ranges, you're essentially incentivizing both sides of that liquidity pool. So it's like wrapped Bitcoin or Betterment and ETH, you have to essentially incentivize both of those to allow it to trade. But with the concentrated liquidity, they'll just be able to do it on one pair. So it's going to really streamline that to allow users to go in and set their own ranges, as well as have more optimal control over how they want to earn. And like I said, too, with the tighter your range is, as well, as long as it's in range, you'll earn more tokens, essentially. So it allows people to earn on it as well, which is a really cool feature. And we'll see if you have any questions on that. I know that's a little more technical. But yeah, it allows us to essentially accommodate more liquidity providers, and especially there's a lot of larger liquidity providers who want to manage their own liquidity, so we're able to accommodate them and get them into the Hydrex flywheel.
Amazing. What types of projects are you hoping to sort of bring into Hydrex with this new feature? Are there specific types of token projects that this is targeted at? Can it be used by anyone from like creator coins all the way up to app coins and beyond?
Yeah, so that's the great thing too. Even though obviously larger liquidity providers like to use this style more, anyone can use it, and any project can as well. And we can accommodate them, similarly if they don't want to have that set up and they want to keep it automated. Like you said, for Creator Coin, it's much different than a larger market cap token to where people like to trade within a certain range. Right. So we can set it up for any way they want and do it for what works best for them to allow their token to appreciate and grow. So, when someone is smaller, if they're, a Creator Coin starting out, it would make sense to keep them in more of an automated range. As well for their users, because then they don't have to worry about staking Creator Coin and also having to manage it if it's in range. And especially if it's more of a volatile token, it's better to keep it automated just to make sure that you can keep that in range and it's not becoming a liquid.
And if someone's watching this and they have maybe their own Creator Coin or an app coin, or maybe they've launched a meme coin before with Clanker, what's the sort of reasoning why they should want to use a product like Hydrex and more specifically Surge?
Yeah, so to bring it back to just Hydrex as a whole, so we're what we call omni liquidity. So we take the current DEX model that's been made popular on or on base through similar ones like Aerodrome, but
Hmm.
we allow anything with a yield to be able to get into the Hydrex flywheel and grow their liquidity. So this includes creator coins, clinker coins, flaunch coins. We can also do it with non-traditional DEX LPs as well. So as you'll see here, we have USDC, Wrapped ETH, and Eurocoin lending market set up through Morpho, as well as through Euler. And the really cool thing about this is we can incentivize any market on base to help it grow liquidity. It doesn't have to be a traditional one. And this is a feature that's very exclusive to Hydrex. So we can help anyone with a market who's looking to bootstrap and get past that cold start problem to come here. We can set up a pool and help them get liquidity in. So it also works as a distribution channel for newer projects as well, because we have I believe it's currently around 30 to 40,000 monthly active users, and they all get exposure to not only the pool, but then also once you get those token earnings going for our token holders to vote on, they can
Hmm.
directly get your token and then come back and stake it in a liquidity pool, which is great
Yeah,
for exposure as well as
liquidity.
getting the name out there.
Liquidity as distribution is an interesting concept. That's kind of one of the strategies we've taken with Betterment, as well as sort of trying to get the better token liquidity to be, as varied as possible. Obviously, we have Uniswap uh,
Hmm.
pools, which is where Clanker automatically deploys when you deploy via Clanker. But then we've also got pools deployed via Flaunch and also here on Hydrex. And so, like you said, it's just in front of more people and more traders who, may not have come across your token otherwise.
Yeah, and that's a really great point that isn't brought up as much. When people talk about DEXs, there's a lot of people think it has to be exclusive, but it's
Mm,
actually more beneficial to have it on different DEXs like that,
right.
especially because, like with Clinker or even with Virtuals or Flaunch, it's oftentimes just launched on Uniswap because they can accommodate the most unique kinds, but we can also set up a liquidity pool on Hydrex to allow you to get to more users, as well as oftentimes having multiple larger liquidity pools can help with volume both from arbitrage as well as just getting more users to come in and be able to swap your tokens. So yeah, no, that's a really great point.
I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about what is expected of token, like a token project or even a creator or a builder, if they were looking to spin something up on Hydrex. Like, what do they have to bring to the table? Do they need to have ETH ready to pair with their token? Can they just sort of BYO, like bring their own token and get started with that? Could you explain what's needed from that perspective? And maybe if you're
Mhm.
not going to use your screen too, we could pop that down so people can see your handsome face better on the stream.
Sure. Let me pull that up. There we go. Yeah, so with token projects, we just ask that they seed initial liquidity to allow people to trade, as well as it just really helps kickstart that liquidity pool.
Yeah.
And so the nice thing with the surge is that they can put it within whatever range they want, and that'll start generating fees to our voters. So that'll be a really nice part is they can really kickstart that. It depends on the size of the project and how much they want to spend. So we initially asked for around 10,000. That just allows for trades to come in and really uh, allow users to trade back and forth, and then also just to help them kickstart the flywheel. We usually look to have them incentivize their pool right out of the gate, and this just ensures that they can get a nice, as you see here, like APR rewards going to their pool, which we've seen like really helps kickstart getting them a really good amount of liquidity, similar to how we saw with Betterment.
Hmm.
So they've been consistently thriving, and it's been growing from that.
And how much of that needs to be ETH? If we're talking about $10,000 worth of liquidity, does it have to be half and half, or how does that usually look for a new project?
Yeah, we usually do half and half, but if they wanted to have it more concentrated towards one or the other, we're willing to set that up too. It's just usually half and half allows to get that good base to allow people to come in and trade. And then if they wanted to
Hmm.
set up more concentrated on top of that, it usually works better.
And what would you say to someone who is maybe trying to figure out their runway? They're building an app. They have their own token. They do want to improve the liquidity profile of their token, but they're obviously cognizant of using whatever ETH they have in the smartest way possible. How would you tell them or convince them that setting up, like using $5,000 worth of whatever runway they have to set up liquidity on Hydrex would be worth it for them over the next year or so? So I think it is, but I just wonder how you would explain that to them.
Hmm. So the nice thing too is, so in terms of liquidity, so they had it somewhere else and they wanted to move it over. They're more than welcome to do that. We don't charge any fees on top of them moving it over.
Right.
They're free to do that as well. But also just as a,
Meaning if they have a pool on Uniswap or something like this. Okay.
yeah, exactly. So because that's always paired with the usually with ETH on base,
Hmm.
they could just move that over, so they don't have to, like you said, get another 5,000 from the runway to set it up.
Hmm.
But like you said too, just as the distribution for a new protocol, it can just really help them get new users and really start to grow. And also with Hydrex, in terms of distribution, not only through our own platform, but we're integrated into the Coinbase retail decks as well as the Base app. So anyone who lists on Hydrex gets those distribution channels as well, which is really cool. And that's the thing too. And I know it also always depends on the size of the protocol, but we always meet with them too to understand their needs, what works best for them, and like how we can help support that as well. So it's not just give us tokens, we set you up, but it is like an ongoing relationship to see what works best, any changing needs or any new updates, and look to market and just help them grow as well.
Yeah, and I can definitely give flowers where that's concerned. You guys have been super helpful with us in terms of explaining all the intricacies of how the Dex works, and even with a rudimentary understanding of how 3-3 Dexes work and whatnot, it can still be a little bit overwhelming as a project founder to sort of navigate and just to know that what you're doing makes the most sense for your token holders and for your project health. And you guys have been great about sort of explaining the different strategies and sort of guiding us through it. So appreciate that a lot.
Yeah, for sure. No, this is my first time when I launched or started working on Hydrex, my first time really getting into a V33, and there is a
Mhm.
lot to learn. And we've really tried to take and simplify the UX as well as just simplify everything for both projects and users to make it more streamlined. And it's an ongoing process. There's a lot of things because we're so deep in the weeds we don't think of, but being able to talk with users and get that feedback is like, oh yeah, this does make sense to simplify it that way or just to remove things entirely. So yeah, we welcome any and all feedback people have.
Yeah, and you can count on me to whine about all the bugs that I do to let you
Hey, we
guys
love
know
it.
in a
Send all the
timely
bugs
manner.
to the devs.
As far as the surge goes, what else are you most excited about in terms of this rollout? I know it's an update that you guys have been planning for a while, and you've talked a little bit about some of the ramifications. Anything else that you'd like to share about this update?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. The first I'll touch on. So we received an Optimism growth grant,
Okay,
which is really cool.
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, we were surprised to get it. But essentially, they gave it to us to help incentivize TVL for Coinbase assets as well as stablecoin pairs on Hydrex. And so that'll go live shortly after the surge goes live tonight with our Epoch flip.
Okay,
So I'm excited to get that out because then on those
is that
pairs,
alpha?
usually
I haven't seen that anywhere else, so feels like
we've
alpha.
yeah, we had a post about it last week, but I think it got a little drowned with all the Coinbase stuff as well.
All good.
Um, but yeah, no, it was really exciting to get. And so on those pairs, users will get dual rewards, which is really
Nice,
cool. So be able to earn OHYDX and Optimism token,
very cool.
which is be a really nice thing to just see how that helps grow. And also, I don't think anyone else is offering that on base currently. So
Yeah.
it's a really cool way to differentiate.
Awesome. Yeah, I did miss that post, so it's alpha to me anyway, and to anyone else that might have missed it. So I appreciate you flagging that. Anything else?
Yeah, this one I'm really excited for. I'll share my screen, but we released our data dashboard.
Okay.
Um, this is alpha right now. It'll be live on the main page tonight, but we do have a special link. So if you go here, I'll show you for anyone who wants to check it out for themselves. It's currently down here in the footer, so anyone who wants to look at the analytics before we go
Ooh,
fully live with it tonight can check it out.
secret
Uh,
link. I'm gonna go check mine
exactly.
out.
Oh yeah, no, it's really cool. We've been putting a lot of work into this, but this just goes through all of our analytics that are on chain. We just like put them really nicely because that's a big thing with the V33 as well, is that there's so many moving parts that it's all on chain, but actually getting that and visualizing it is another story.
Yeah.
It gets complicated very, very quickly. But we've taken this and just really broken it down so everyone can see with every part of our protocol how it's all working. So, like for a strategic protocol reserve, you can see how that's broken down, where it's at currently. You can also, go by weeks to see how it's grown. We do this as well for earning power in the protocol, how the token's been locked. And you can also look through like the holders to see where everything's at.
Sorry, is
It's
that the breakdown of Hydrex and like how people have been deciding to like sell it versus
Yeah, so it's
otherwise?
really
Yeah.
cool. You can see all the different ways and you can
That's
interact with it
interesting.
here. Um, yeah, so because
Hmm.
there's just been so much data within the protocol, it's been nice to have it in one place so users can come and see and
Yeah.
just have it all, and it's all verified on chain as well, which is really cool.
Amazing.
Yep,
Transparency for the win.
exactly. Yeah, and this is one thing too. Obviously, we'll have a lot of feedback. So any feedback users have or what they'd like to see, definitely let the team know because it's going to be an ongoing process to get this to be as great as it can be.
Amazing. Which project would you most like to see on Hydrex that isn't on Hydrex already? I'm gonna put you on the
Oh,
spot.
oh, that's a tough one. Um oh, we've been working with so many cool ones. Oh man. Mm,
Take your time. We can
I'm
fix it
just
in post. I'm just kidding. We're live.
I know. I know. Well, that's a tough one. There's a lot of really cool virtuals ones I'd like
Yeah.
to see added on. I need to explore the market more myself, but would love to see more of them come on, and especially with like Clinker tokens.
Yeah.
I think we're talking with a few, and just I think being able to get those on there and like really get in liquidity and incentives for those types of projects that are growing is what I want the most. I can't think of any specific one, but yeah, any projects that are listening that are interested, feel free to reach out to us and our team, and we can chat through.
Yeah, a lot of projects that have launched on Clanker, whether it's one of the older versions or the newer version of Clanker or other launch pads, they often don't think about liquidity because that's kind of one of the sales, the USPs of these launch pads is that you don't have to think about your liquidity; it just kind of
Hmm.
gets set up for you. But if you're building something long term, you obviously should be thinking about it and having a strategy. And there's obviously diminishing returns on the initial pools that are set up by these launch pads. So anytime that I'm sort of talking to these founders and explaining that we're working with Hydrex and with Flaunch and others to sort of broaden our liquidity profile, you can always see like a bit of a light bulb go off where it's like, oh yeah, like I haven't even thought about that, but that makes a lot of sense. Have you found that to be the
Hmm.
case as well?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, because a lot of times, like you said, it's you just set up the token, then you don't think about it. Especially, I know because it's with Clinker, right, where they put part of the trades back into liquidity,
That's the
right?
newer
Kind of
versions, yeah. Like for
the newer
example,
one.
Betterment, we're on like 3.1, which is one of the older versions of Clanker. It was just like one simple pool with no dynamic ranges or anything. But the newer ones do have, yeah, that dynamic range,
Yeah,
dynamic
that's
fee. I mean, sorry, but yeah,
hmm yeah, and that's a good point with like the older ones as well because it's there's a lot more they can do with liquidity, and I know especially with virtuals, there's quite a few that their main liquidity is in a V2 pool on Uniswap,
yeah.
which is nice to just keep it there, but then you also lose out on like the concentrated side that comes with being able to get more volume and being able to have it set up within certain ranges. So I think there's definitely improvement on that as well.
This is maybe a broad sort of philosophical question for you, but why do you think liquidity matters for projects? Because I actually have heard people say that it doesn't really matter that much or that it shouldn't be a priority for projects. But why would you argue that it should be?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I know, especially if you're in some chats, people argue they need less liquidity because they just want to see, a big buy come in and pump the
Candles,
chart.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said earlier, that goes both ways. And especially as you grow, you want to have healthy liquidity to not only allow those bigger traders to come in, but also to allow you to sustain at a higher price. Because the more liquidity you have at a higher price point, it takes a lot more for it to go down and
Right.
allows for people to come in and be able to trade of all sizes and not worry about slippage, not worry about taking the price or anything, and it just really allows the token to appreciate as it should. Um, and that's definitely the biggest thing too. And being able to add incentives on top of it just allows more people to come in to provide liquidity or even get the token that normally wouldn't. So it also helps from a distribution standpoint as well.
And if we broaden out again from just speaking of individual projects or creators or what have you, and talk about the base ecosystem as a whole, what do you think that Hydrex brings to the base ecosystem in terms of like making base a better place to build?
Yeah, so I think that really goes back to our Omni liquidity piece, which really helps us stand out from other dexes. So, anything with a yield on base, we can incorporate and help them get liquidity and grow. Because I think too, that's one thing when you think of liquidity, you always think of it for a specific token.
Right.
which is our bread and butter. But also as we are, integrating with Morpho and Euler, and we're looking to, get into more advanced things such as perpetuals, you can help incentivize those markets directly, which is a really cool way that a DEX, especially from the V33 standpoint, can come in and not only help, established ones like Morpho to get people a place to earn, but any new ones that are coming up, or if there's new lending markets that people want to incentivize, we could put them through Hydrex to help kickstart it and get them more distribution to those markets as well, to allow more
Okay.
that token itself to get more liquid and people to lend it, borrow it, and really helps boost DeFi overall.
So that's a side of your platform that I haven't delved into too much, but it almost sounds like it's like incentives as a service in a way. Is that a good way of conceptualizing it? Like, are you trying to help attract TVL to other protocols? Is that the idea?
Yeah, it helps, especially just to help them grow and get more liquidity because it's both incentives as a for TVL and also just for distribution.
Okay.
So like the one we did with Euler,
Hmm.
so they were looking to incentivize specifically the USDC that's curated by Alpha Growth. So
Right.
we were able to set that up, and I think we increased it by 60 or 70% in just a few days. So it's really been shown to help, get more of that out, especially for lending, because the more you have in there, the more people can borrow, and then it kind of helps just work better for everyone.
How do you balance sort of helping your bread and butter clients who are projects that are trying to set up their project liquidity with also helping some of these bigger protocols with what you're just describing, if that makes sense? Like, do you find that there's like an issue of cannibalization? Like, is there like a limited amount of capital that's available to go out to these different protocols, and is it hard to like focus on one versus the other? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. No, we haven't had any issues with cannibalizing. It's very much different markets. And
Right.
the nice thing too with lending is that the delta is like much lower for what people, especially when it's like USDC or you're just staking wrapped ETH. You don't have to put as much incentives on there to be able to attract it, as compared to maybe more of a volatile token to where people would expect a higher APR to want to stake into it for any
Right. You're
possible
more so
risk
just
loss.
convincing them not to list it any of the other millions of places they could list it essentially in other protocols. Just so you just need a little small reason for them to do it there essentially.
Yeah, exactly. And we have so many partners now and many more that are coming in, and we haven't had any issues with them not being able to be able to set up and be able to get rewards and be able to get some liquidity incentivized on there. So it's pretty
Cool.
nice too, because yeah, it's serving two different, I think too, at the end of the day, it's very different users, like ones that are looking to come in and get into projects and ones that are looking for a place to park their stables or blue chips. And oftentimes there is crossover, but I think it helps like everything grow as well because we're also bringing in users who
Right.
are more, can be more risk averse that want to stake in lending, and then they can also be exposed to these new projects and vice versa.
So maybe in a way you're helping them diversify their own strategies as well, all within one platform.
Yeah, definitely. So I think it helps just everyone grow. And, as we add more in and you start getting to like people who are in perpetuals or different kinds of markets, it helps, be that liquidity hub where everyone can come and check out what's going on instead of just trying to serve one specific need.
Very cool. We're coming to the end of the year. You can hardly believe it, but there's only 13 days left in the year.
It's
So a lot of
crazy.
us are thinking about what's next, what's coming up in 2026. So I'd like to hit you with that question. What are you most excited about from the Hydrex side, in Q1 of 2026? What should we expect?
Yeah, so with the Surge being our largest set of enhancements, a big focus for us next is a refinement of now that we have it out and we, we're able to really compete on all this large amount of liquidity that's on base. Is how do we get our platform to be the best possible in terms of providing all the info to users, having the best user flow, making it work well, especially with us being in many apps. There's always that to consider as well. So that's definitely the biggest thing. For us going into the start of the year is like now that we can accommodate all these users on base, how do we make it the best experience
Amazing.
possible
Well,
for
thank you
everyone
so
coming
much for
in?
taking the
And
time
once
to
they
sit
use
down with us
Hydrex,
and
they won't
chat
want to
about
use
what you guys
anything
are building
else.
at
I think we've
Hydrex.
done
Really
that
appreciate it,
already with
Jimbo.
quite a few
Appreciate you
users,
guys.
but
Have a
as
great
we,
day, and
yeah, as
we'll
we grow and,
see you on chain.
thanks, Toady. Especially take care, everyone. When the base app
Take
gets
care.
released, that's going to be a huge distribution channel for us. So we just want to make sure that everyone who comes in and uses Hydrex wants to continue using it, and we can really become that staple liquidity hub for base.
Amazing. Love to hear it. Well, I guess we're gonna find out what's coming in a couple hours now. It's about 12:45 EST right now. I think the base event starts in 4 hours from now, for 4 hours and 15 minutes. So we'll see if our
Yeah.
predictions are correct and how much the base landscape will be changing. But hopefully we'll get a little base season to close out the year. That would be nice.
That would be really nice. Yeah, I'm hoping so too.